All right, let's talk about MSTR. Today, we're going to unpack what might just be one of the boldest, most aggressive investment theses out there right now, the case for microstrategy and how its biggest fans are modeling a future that is, frankly, staggering. And you know what? We're not going to bury the lead. We're starting right at the end. Look at that number, $59,513. That's the bull case price target for one single share of MicroStrategy. It's an absolutely astronomical figure, and it's one that demands a serious explanation. So the big question is, how on earth do you get there? How does anyone justify a number like that? Well, it's not just pulling a number out of thin air. It's actually a combination of a really specific strategy, a super dedicated community, and a financial model that, according to them, makes it all make sense. So yeah, let's break that down. Okay, so it all kicks off with this idea they call the burn the ships strategy. And honestly, the name says it all. The mission is simple, it's absolute. Get your hands on as much Bitcoin as you possibly can. Use every tool, every financial lever you have. And the most important part, there is no plan B. None. And hey, this isn't just some catchy phrase that analysts made up. Nope. This comes straight from the man himself, CEO Michael Saylor. We are burning the ships. I mean, that quote just perfectly nails the high stakes, all-in nature of what they're doing. There's no turning back. For MSTR, it's forward and only forward. Now, when you go all in like that, it's obviously going to raise some eyebrows and some pretty important questions. I mean, you've got to wonder, why are they issuing new stock just to buy more Bitcoin? What kind of return or yield are they even expecting to get on that Bitcoin over the next decade? And what's the big picture? What's the 10-year vision for the company? You know, getting answers here is absolutely crucial if you want to understand the long game. So that's the strategy. But to really get the full picture of MSTR, you have to look at the people behind it, the believers. Because you can't really grasp this whole thing without diving into the intense conviction of the community that's cheering them on. This quote from a supporter just says it all, doesn't it? There are only 3 types of people. It's this idea that MSTR investors are in this special club, that they see something others don't. Not just about Bitcoin, but about the unique way MicroStrategy is playing the game. And it gets even deeper. The community has its own lingo, its own inside jokes. This phrase, swallow the sailor pill, I mean, that's not your typical Wall Street talk, right? This shows it's not just about a stock. For these supporters, it's almost like a philosophy, a full-on commitment to Michael Saylor's vision for a digital future. So, what's the bottom line here? For the true believers, the debate is over. The core belief is that Michael Saylor has figured it all out. He's cracked the code. And for them, all that's left to do is buckle up and enjoy the ride. All right, so we've got the burn the ship strategy and we've got the fired up community. But talk is cheap, right? What about the actual results? Let's dig into the numbers that supporters are pointing to as hard evidence that this whole thing isn't just working, it's actually speeding up. Get a load of this. This stat is just wild. In the first 16 days of the year, just over 2 weeks, one analysis showed MSTR raised enough cash to cover its dividend payments for the next 4 years. That just gives you a sense of the insane speed and scale we're talking about here. And this isn't just some financial engineering on paper. We're seeing it happen in real time. Just recently, they had a massive week where they made their 4th biggest Bitcoin purchase in the company's entire history. So yeah, this isn't some far-off theory. This is aggressive, tangible buying, and it's happening right now. And, you know, when you move that fast, people have to take notice. It's forcing analysts to literally rip up their old spreadsheets. I mean, look at this. On January 3rd, one analyst was predicting MSTR would have about 800,000 Bitcoin by 2026. Just 18 days later, 18 days, they had to jack that forecast up to over 1 million. That's how fast the story is changing. Okay, so let's bring this all home. How does all this, the strategy, the buying, the hype, connect back to that nearly $60,000 share price we started with? Well, believe it or not, it boils down to a pretty straightforward formula with just 3 main ingredients. So here are the 3 big variables you need to juggle. First, you have to make a guess about the future price of Bitcoin. That's the big one. Second, you have to estimate what they call the Bitcoin yield. Basically, how much extra value MSTR can squeeze out of its Bitcoin holdings. And third, you slap a multiple on the company's net asset value, kind of like you do for a bank or an investment firm. And this table here is where the magic happens. Let's assume Bitcoin becomes a massive $200 trillion asset. And let's say MSTR trades at a pretty conservative 1.5 times its asset value. Then everything comes down to that Bitcoin yield. So in what they call the bear case, a 50% yield gets you to about 35 grand a share. Not bad. The base case, 100% yield, takes you to 47 grand. But that bull case, 150% yield, that's how you get to that almost $60,000 price tag we saw at the beginning. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what do you see? On one hand, supporters are convinced they're watching a complete revolution in how companies should handle their money, a total game changer. On the other hand, critics are looking at this and seeing one of the biggest, most concentrated gambles in corporate history. And that kind of leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Is this the future of corporate finance? Or is it a high-stakes gamble that could go down in flames?